Anyways, let's get to it. Let me explain this glitch hunting. And I hope you guys like the Jeopardy music, because we're going to be listening to it for a while. Thank you, Onyx. Alright. Hello and welcome. Alright, so a few things about this setup. One, you might notice, hey, there's a video game called Jeopardy there, and there's a timer behind me, and there's this weird window right here, right? And then there's this other window that looks like a game. Hold on, let me get to the screen of that. Oh my god, it's Jeopardy again! Alright, guys. So here's what's going on, right? Oh, that's gonna be so unsatisfying that they're separate. Anyways, alright. So, I have Jeopardy on the Super Nintendo. It is sitting in the Super Nintendo. That is right here. Here's my traditional Super Nintendo controller. What we are going to be doing is I'm going to be learning and researching how to do RAM searching to find RNG and reverse engineering RNG inside a ROM. I've read a bit about this. I kind of understand it. The goal is to figure out how this game... Guru5, hello and welcome in. The idea is to figure out how Jeopardy... what in its memory chooses what categories it does. Once we discover that, we're going to see if we then can manipulate that to get consistent categories in Jeopardy. Now, as you guys can think, Jeopardy, so if you guys, let me explain something. This game has 3,685 question and answers without Final Jeopardy alone. Right? So just in the single Jeopardy and the double Jeopardy, that is a ton. I do have an answer and questions guide. However, like that's a text document, so it's a lot of control Fing around. So it takes time out of it. Also, there are certain categories that are better than others because it comes with an on-screen keyboard. So the better categories are the ones with the shorter words because we want the shorter time. So we want categories like ABCs, where every letter is A, B, or C, basically. Or we want 4-letter words or 3-letter words, right? Because they're very short and really easy to type in. However, at the end of the day, we can't guarantee on those categories coming up. And so we might end up with like a game that has like 5-syllable words, and that's super long, and like God hopes I can spell, right? So the goal is to figure out how to do this RNG manipulation or see where it's stowed and be able to do that and then be able to change it. And every time we play Jeopardy, it's the same category, which would be amazing because then for speedrunning, all we'd have to do is hop on, log on, do whatever it takes to do the RNG manipulation and then see it. However, here's the thing. I don't know a lot about this. It sounds like I might, but I really don't. I know what I want to do, so we're going to see if I can do it. So what I have here is we're going to say, right, I ripped the ROM from my game into a digital copy, which I'm legally allowed to do, and I've put it into an emulator. The emulator that I'm using is SNES 9X RR, re-recording. So a re-recording has a few cool tools. Those few cool tools that you can see. Here, I'm going to mute this for a while because we don't need to be listening to this while I talk, right? We only need to be listening to it while we're actually speedrunning that category, which I'm going to explain in a sec as well. So a few cool tools that SNES 9X re-recording has. So under tools, we have RAM Watch, RAM Search Old, which is going to be our comparer, which is really nice, and Input Macro Editor. And you can see right here, this window that's right here, this is the RAM Search. Now, right now, we only just started the game, and we already have 147,456 possibilities of specific addresses and values that we can search through. I don't know which one of these is RNG. No idea. So we're going to find out by doing RNG manipulation or RNG reverse. So, excuse me. So I hope you guys like researching, and I hope that you guys like learning, because here's what we got, right? So I'm gonna minimize those, and we're gonna do this together. To read this, all right. I'm so lost but so intrigued. All right, so here's another interesting thing about this, right? So we're gonna be reading up. So what I have pulled up right now, hopefully both tabs pull up. Sweet, they do. So I have an xy2.dev article about reverse engineering RNG in a GBA game. Now the problem is that, like, right, it took me some time to get this re-recorder and everything, but it's the same idea, right, of reverse engineering. Then I also have the Taz videos. So Taz is a tool-assisted speedrun. RNG manipulation is super important for a Taz, because what a Taz is, it's a robot that runs a video game, right? So the Taz needs to expect very specific things to happen. That way it can constantly replicate it. In a traditional video game, you would think, right, or a traditional speedrun where a human being would play it, right, that they would see something and then react to it, like RNG, right, which is random number generated, by the way, if I haven't explained that. RNG isn't actually random, by the way. A computer can't be random. What they have inside of them is a algorithm that creates that RNG. And sometimes, like in Super Mario World, that's based off of what subpixel you're on, which is like a pixel, but not. We're not going to go there. I kind of explained it in one of my speedruns of Super Mario World where we were trying to do a subpixel clip to get Yoshi out of bounds. But that's not here nor there, right? So RNG, right, is what creates this random thing. So in this case, the random thing in the game that's creating is the categories. So it's choosing which category to do. And I'm pretty sure this is based on RNG, which means based off of a set of things, it runs its algorithm and chooses, hey, we're going to do these 5 things. Now, this could be a series of things. Is it how many times I push start? Is it how many times I push select? Is it based off of the time in the real world? Is it based off of, like, I don't know. I have no idea. So we're going to see if we can find that and how it's determined inside the video game, right? So the thing is, we got to reverse engineer, right? We got to figure out when I take 2 instances and start the game, what's different about the game? What in the ROM says, hey, this is what category we're choosing today, right? And so that's what I'm trying to figure out. So we're going to go over these videos. All right, so why is this here? So this is the SNES version. So this is the actual hardware. All right, so this is here because we're going to be running Jeopardy SNES versus CPU. What's that mean? Well, there's 2 categories to run in almost every Jeopardy game that exists, and there are a lot of them. All right, so those 2 categories in live split, where'd you go? There you are, honey. So we have edit splits. The 2 categories are versus CPU and CPU percent. Sorry, so we're going to be doing CPU percent. That was my mistake. So we're doing CPU percent because we're not doing versus CPU because we're not going to be playing at all. There is a way to allow Jeopardy to put all 3. That's right, all 3 contestants against themselves. So this is an opportunity for you to win channel points. The current world record, I believe, is 27 minutes for CPU percent, and the current world record for versus CPU is 23 minutes. We're going to try and beat both of them. So here's the thing. CPU percent requires literally no input whatsoever. It starts when I hit start. So real quick, I'm going to go to speedrun.com. Feel free to look at this. We're going to go to speedrun.com /Jeopardy_SNES. All right, so here's our current leaderboard, right? So I'm going to look at the rules real quick just to verify that we do everything right. So you guys should be able to see that. Yep. All right, category rules. I feel like I'm watching a supervillain's pitch. The only thing I'm missing is the laugh. Ah, ha, ha, ha. And then we'll do this. Is that better? All right. Timing starts when 0 players is selected. Timing ends when it says, congratulations, insert CPU name here. You are our new Jeopardy can do. Gladly. Okay. How many players? 0. All right, 0 players is selected. All right, we're starting our run. Chat, can I get a countdown from 3? 2, 1. Go. All right. Now, while that's going, we don't have to worry about anything. We're going to be reading up. All right. Reverse engineering RNG in a Game Boy Advance game. Here, let me move this over here. There we go. And we'll go like this a bit. All right. I don't even care. All right. This is a gentle introduction. It's brand new. It came out yesterday, apparently. So this is the perfect time to do this run. All right, the post is a gentle introducing, though, through the unusual medium of tool-assisted speedrunning, which isn't what we're doing, but sort of. All right, we're going to find an RNG random number generator in a game using a combination of dynamic and static analysis, and then protect it later on. It also induces usage of a debugger and disassembler as well as some scripting. But why, right? So it says the speedrun is beating games as fast as possible with infinite retries. Whenever you make a mistake, you can go back in time literally and try with different inputs. More sophisticated tooling allows you to enter and modify the input that's passed to the game each frame. It's metagame. Find it kind of fun and it makes some cool results. Tasking is about going fast. Everything that makes it stop fast has to be taken care of, including luck, right? We're trying to get rid of that. All right, in video games, many of the events aren't random. They're given an illusion of randomness, like I was explaining. You've already done enough, me, in the SPC. Whoa, whoa, whoa. For example, the generation of dust particles or the movement of an enemy, it calls the RNG, which returns a random number. We can imagine the RNG function. Likely most number, which then is used by a calling code. All right. Dynamic analysis. The game I'm using here is Shaman Kingmaster Spirits using BizHawk. Like I said, we're using Jeopardy SNES. Non-deluxe version, by the way. Deluxe edition has even more questions. Like I already told you that there's almost 4,000 categories and questions, or 4,000 questions in this version. There's even more in deluxe, and I wasn't ready for that. So we're just doing regular non-deluxe. All right. Go forward, do a sword. All right. Interesting enemy. All right, let's watch this. Alright, so we got a little puncher boy here. Alright, so we meet a boxer and he jumps back and forth and seems to attack at a random pace. After a hop, he will either jab or wait. We have a source of random phenomena. When running straight at him, his pattern is jab, 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 wait, jab, and so on. No matter how long we wait, this pattern is always the same. This suggests that the RNG isn't called by anyone else other than the boxer. Most of our answers don't seem to call the RNG either, like jumping, attacking, and backdashing. However, when we attack a few times and then walk to him, the pattern changes. Pattern is now jab, jab, wait, jab, jab. We know that the special attacks do call and thus change the RNG. More importantly, we have two states of the game that we can compare against. The normal state where we walk up and the other one where we special attack and change the RNG. So this is what I'm saying. So I'm curious, right? So how do I create a normal state and then a manipulated state? Or do I just create two states that I think are the same but aren't, right? Because there's RNG difference based on the categories being different. And then our categories decided. And then also, interesting thing, we can say we don't like those categories in this game. We can get 5 categories and be like, nah, Alex, get that shit out of here. So I think, so there's a few things I want to do in our, there's a few, we're going to look at a lot of different save states is what I'm thinking of. All right. All right. So, right, this is what we have, right? So we have the RAM search. Whoops. Sorry about that. So we have RAM search, right? So we should be able to compare. Okay. Save states. Okay. So save state, reset, new save state. And then we should be able to compare. Reload the first state, then say not equal to compare against the previous values. Finally, reload the second. Okay. I think we can do this. All right. So let's do this first, right? All right. Right here. Let's unlock that. Okay. So here's our RAM search, right? So an interesting thing about RAM search, and this is where we're going to talk about RNG manipulation. The ROM knows how many times I push a button, right? Which is super interesting. So watch as I push start inside the ROM. Boom. Look at 7E0009. It's gone up by 2 bits. Tools, RAM, search. All right, so here's our RAM. All right, so as I push start, right? So this is what it normally look like, where we're gonna do 1 player and we're gonna play against the computer. And then we can enter any of our name. Now, this is another interesting thing about ROM, right? We're gonna start by putting our name in the same, but if you know things like The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, that speedrun requires you to have a very specific name. And that very specific name means that the game has to create a debug file, which means it's like, whoa, what does this mean? And then it tries to figure out and it causes it to glitch. So will we have to do something like this in this game? I don't know. Are we able to? I don't know. Probably not, because there's only the regular, I don't know what our alphabet's called. I know that we use like, Arabic numbers, but I don't know what our alphabet's called. The like generic English alphabet. I don't know. Sure, it's not the Arabic alphabet. We use Arabic numbers, not the Arabic alphabet, because that doesn't make sense because the Arabic language isn't in ours. The Latin alphabet. That I'll agree with, Demise. That sounds way more right. All right. So to start off, this also might be crazy. I'm just going to put our name as A. Okay, so we can also do spaces. And this is where it gets interesting, right? The space has its own value in it. So the blank space, backspace right here, those create their own value, which is interesting. So as you can see, 7E's 0004 is specifically related to this. What that means, I don't know. It's also, here's another interesting thing. My press is 71 with a value of -128. And as I depress it, or whatever, I don't know how this works. Because do press and depress mean the same thing? Is it like flammable and inflammable? Yes, awful. I hate our language. All right. Compress and, well, yeah, right? But that's like squeeze. All right, so they just started. I'm not doing more splits. I'm not going to split double Jeopardy and single Jeopardy and final Jeopardy in this version, and I hope that's okay. I'm just doing the full timer because I don't see a reason to constantly do those splits. I think it's important because you can find your deficiencies as a human, but I don't care what these computers' deficiencies are. Also, look at Sexy Alex. Sorry as I talk with my mouth open. All right. So, right. So it's 73, 74, 75, 76. I don't know what that means. I find it interesting. All right. We're going to push start. There I am. All right. Choose a person. And then I can choose that guy, or I can go through. All right. So here goes the categories. I don't know when the game decides what categories. Has it already decided? I don't know. So we're going to also try and figure that out. Is it after I choose my person? Do different people cause it? Yo, what's up, Skunk? We be a nerdy as shit. Put $1 in. Put $1 in. All right, so we're going to save game. Whoops. We're going to save game in slot 0. All right, and now we're going to reset it. Hit start. And we're going to choose this guy. And we're going to look at the categories. And then we're going to do previous value. I don't know what that means. All right. All right. Stop. It's hammer time. All right. Now let's see if I do this right. We do previous value. And then we load the new game. And now we do. Oh, I also was supposed to put data size at 2. It's fine. Okay. And now we do a file. And then we load. And then we do eliminate. Okay. So these things changed. They are red. All right. So those change. Okay. And those change. And that changed. And those. Oh, no. Okay. And all that changed. And all that changed. But so the other problem with reading ROM, right? And what's interesting about this is that data is stored in various different ways, right? Not all data that we are looking at is like, just like, it's not all physics and like decision based, right? Some of it's also stuff like our graphics. Our graphics are stored in our memory, right? So it has to decide how to pull that up. And guess what? Different categories have different graphics because they have different names. And then also, does it preload the questions at the beginning? Because the questions are always the same for the category and always in the same order, which makes this game a little bit easier to speedrun. And we will do a verse CPU percent at the end, or a verse CPU. I'm going to do one run of this with the text document to see how it goes. I may get my laptop out. That way I can have another computer because we insane. But you managed to get infinite ammo for this Nerf gun? Wow. Wow. Nice. That's very impressive. I'm going to be happy if I can just learn how to actually determine what is RNG. That's like the goal of this stream. Alright. Now, that I've discovered that there are differences. We're going to minimize these. We're going to pull our browser back up. Alright. It's likely that the address of our RNG is hiding here somewhere. But what do I mean by address? Wasn't the RNG a function? In order for RNG to function, it needs to generate a random number each time. But doing a cheat sure isn't perfect. At one point in the process, I made some of the enemy sprites glitch out and follow me around the screen. Fair, yeah. I'll be happy if we can do anything crazy, but like, I'm not like trying to insert codes or anything like that, because I'm going to try and actually be able to replicate whatever we do into the actual hardware. So what I'm like, so we'll see. It's going to be interesting. It also might be better that way, right? So, I don't know. 21 minutes. All right. All right. In order for an RNG, right, most likely we need an algorithm that generates a wide range of possibilities, idea without much repetition, but more importantly, in order to function, may need to know the previously generated number in order to use it as a base for the next one, which is also an interesting thing. So, right, does that mean that we are more likely to get a certain category after another category? Does the game know that length, or does it know what's hard? Does the game know popcorn kernel? Is the game like, yo, that's a hard category. Let's not mess this guy up too bad. Let's give him an easy category now. So will it do like a 5-syllable word? And then will it do... Yeah, no, I know that. Right? So like, but the thing is, does this thing have a hard curve? Like, does it know? Is it sentient? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Who knows? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Just kidding. Thus, we can speculate that RNG function is the same kind of generator, creating a sequence of random numbers. Now, of course, one of the ways that we can determine this without trying to read the ROM is by running like 1 billion games. And the thing about emulators is that we could run them very quickly. We could put them at a much higher speed, which would be great for like CPU percent. However, right, with that, then we'd have to... Because obviously I'm not gonna be sitting there and like write down all the categories and like do that 1 billion times. What I'd like to do is have like a script that then can read the screen of the computer or whatever, and then determine and do numbers and be like, this is what it is, and coding, and like that's too much, right? So this is one of the things I was talking about. Some old video game RNGs are more primitive, relying on things like clock time for random events. So this is really common because there's RNG manipulation in certain games, and you'll see people play levels and like, you're like, they're a speedrunner. Why aren't they going fast? They're standing still. And that's because they're waiting for like a clock to hit a certain point. This is common. Well, there's also global scales, which can also do it. Because like, I know Super Mario Bros. 2 speedrun, they use global scales. And so they have to do certain tricks at certain times to get those global scales. I don't think it's actual RNG manipulation. But there are games where you'll see that. And I can't think of any off the top of my head. I feel like SMB1 might have it, but not sure. All right. So is our value really here? Let's check by freezing all these addresses. Freezing an address means that it keeps its last value and cannot be modified. What happens? So this is the problem, right? It's already decided its values, but we could change it, right? But if I freeze the value, hit start after one category has been decided, is that the better move? Because if I can at least get one category to go and be the same, or choose the next category based on the first one, or determine how the first one itself is decided, which then is therefore less values to look at? Would that be better? And should we stop the game there? The boxer now only waits. He never chooses to jab. If we froze on a different RNG value, it would have likely only jabbed. We can use binary search to find the proper address. Wait, so here's our game, right? Here's the other one. Yeah, no, you're good. All right, US cities. That's fair. HH. British Isles. P. S. And P's and Q's. Okay. Where's and? Ampersand Q's. Okay. All right. There are our categories. All right. So now we have save states. Let's determine when this game figures out what categories it chooses. So we're going to recreate the same thing over and over. So F1, I will push start once during this menu. Okay. All right. Now we'll wait for Jeopardy to fully go through. All right. How many players? 1. Yes. My name shall be A. Start. I will buzz in as this man. So did it determine from our initial start of the game? Does this game know as soon as I hit start and play that it chooses categories? No, it does not. So we go into F2. Okay, so that means, yes. So that means that it's not decided right off the bat. It's decided somewhere in the menuing. Okay, so my name is A. I buzz in as this dude. Is it decided at the menu screen? So does something hit at the menu that decides it? It does not. F3. How many players? Has it decided now? Now, one of the interesting things is that I might have to recreate this with Taz, because I might not be able to, and it might be based off another human thing. So we're going to move this real quick. We're going to make this a little bit bigger for y'all. Salty! Hello, you beautiful human being. It did not. All right. So that was based off of choosing where. All right. How about when I choose against a computer? Has it decided now that it shall be the same? A. Oh, big old hearts to you too. The fifth, so it did not there. All right, is it at my name? A. Buzz in. We're trying to determine when the game chooses what my category will be. And if I recreate the same thing, which it doesn't make sense because, right, most people are going to do the same thing over, right? So is at this point after choosing character. Because I'm using a save state, so it's loading everything from the file that was exactly the same as before, and I'm trying to recreate the same things after. There it is! There it is! So it decides. There's our difference. So it decides after I've chosen my name, right? So I buzz in as this dude. And once I buzzed in as this dude, it's going to do the same category. We shall see once again, bodies of water, transportation or whatever, transport, US cities, HH, British Isles, P's and Q's. Okay? So we now know something. We have learned something. What do we do with this knowledge? Hold on. I have ideas. All right. Now I'm curious. Now here's where the curiosity is. Can I edit the RNG? Has it already decided? Right? Thank you. Maybe. I don't know. How do we feel about Matt Pat here? All right. Now, if I choose as a different character, let's say I choose, right? I want to be her. What's her name? Jenny. Matt Pat as a guest. I'm getting mad game theory vibe. Oh no, it's fine. Okay, see, it doesn't even matter who I choose. It will always be the same at that point. So what's that mean? That means that we can look at the RAM from this point after I've confirmed my name. Which is awesome. Okay. So I'm thinking, right? So, one of the interesting things about this... No, wait, no, it's not. Because all that's left at this save state is choosing your character. Which means that choosing your character has no difference on the game. Which is crazy. This game was so ahead of its time. Somehow, the game is equally hard whether or not you're a white man, a woman, or a black man. Holy shit, 1992 Jeopardy, good job. So it might be based on the time in which I hit select. Oh. When I start, right? It's locked as soon as I choose my character. And is that RNG timer starting from the second I start the game or from somewhere else? And can we recreate it? And we can, we shall. So I have ideas. So we're going to reset this. I'm going to reset it as closely to right at 12 minutes as I can. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push start for my character as close to 12:15 as I can get. Or sorry, like 12:30. Okay. So 1, yes. We're gonna name him AAAA again. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So this is the 30-second start. This is the new set of categories that we get. Okay. The game stopped, so I can click on something else, so I pulled up Notepad. All right, actors and roles. Okay. Religion, good topic. Animals. History. Italy. And food. Almost did it again. All right. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit file reset as close to 14 as we can get. And then I'm going to try and start the game at 14:30 and see what happens. So stand by with me for the next 10 seconds as we counter in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. A Taz. This confirms I'm almost positive that we could make a Taz for this game. Which nobody's asking for. Alright, A, and as close to 14:30 as we can get. Okay, moment of truth. Moment of truth. No! Oh, I would have been so... How cool would it be if we discovered that, like, that easily? Life's never that easy. Alright. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try and do micro progressions and see if I can do it. I'm only human. Okay. Alright. I didn't save state that. That was a problem. I have another save state. Okay. Wait. Wait. So, right, we know if I do that, we know that we will get medicine department stores. Okay, hold on. Where's this end? 5 categories? 6 categories? 5? Okay. Right there. Get that shit out of here. Okay. Alright. So, now can I recreate that from this file? Whoops. I wonder if it's based off of other factors as well. No. Okay. So I was curious, like, maybe it's a timer based off each letter. You know, I was going to lead with a compliment about how good looking you are. I mean, every time. But are you learning how to speedrun Jeopardy? I am, Bass! I am. We're learning how to try and break the game as well. So, we're currently speedrunning a... what we're gonna call a meme category called CPU percent, where we let the CPUs do exactly what it's doing. The CPUs are just playing. And then on this part of Jeopardy, because we're running 2 categories sort of at once, we're trying to figure out if we can manipulate the game to give me the same categories every time. And we're starting to figure out where the game actually discovers and creates itself to actually give us the variables that lead to us getting that category. We discovered that's exactly that there is factors based off of exactly when you select your character. So once you select your character, you're locked in, and the timing on that actually bases a difference. Because ready, that was not as fast, and this is going to be different. Because we're expecting medicine, department stores, saints, and sports trivia and mythology, but we're not going to get that. See, we're gonna get you... Whatever. Like, fuck you. Put one in the swear jar! Alright. Alright. Thank you. Alright. But... Didn't watch your P's and Q's, I know. But if I do this... You ready? Not that. Not that either. This. That should give us what we want, right? Okay. So, right. So that means that based off of exactly when I push this... Ooh. No, that's not interesting. Never mind. So I was looking at the RAM. All right, let's do some RAM watch and so RAM search. Okay. Oh, this is good. This is so good. Okay. So, all right. So we found a consistency. We found the constant in the game, which means that we have a variable that we can change individually to figure out where it is in the RAM and then how to recreate it. Oh, this is so good. Also notice something, right? Like this is a change. This is constantly going up, which means right there is the in-game timer going, which may be the RNG manipulation. Okay. Oh, this is so good. Oh, I'm glad that you find this fascinating. I thought people would find it boring, but I thought that this would be exciting because I'm so excited for it. Okay. All right. So what we can do, right? So we have here, where we know for sure. So we're going to do a shift F8. F8's free. All right. So now we know if we go F8 and hit start and buzz in, no matter who we are, we will always get the same categories. Period. We'll get medicine, department stores, saints, and sports, trivia, and mythology. For sure. And if we don't, I messed up. And we're going to redo it. Okay, we're good. So F5. This is the difference. I hit start here. And I know from the F5 save state, I know for a fact that I can get to medicine, department stores, saints, and sports, trivia, and mythology. Right? So we're going to hit OK. Actually, we're not even going to hit OK. You know what? We're going to do this. Oops. We're going to do this. We're going to hit start. All right. Now, from our RAM search over here, what we're going to do, we're going to do compare to previous value. And we're going to load our game for slot 8. Okay, so here's the things that are different. See, look at how much is the same now. Okay, we got a few things that are currently moving up, which are different. But if they're moving right now, then there's something wrong, because we know at this point, so whatever thing is consistently, what is different and not going up in value should be our answer. And there it is. I think that might be it. So that is address 7E065E. Okay. So, I think it is that. For the simple fact. Whoops. No, we're good. Okay. I thought I covered this up. Okay. For the simple fact, this time is also going to be awful in CPU percent. For the simple fact, if we click and we got this running, that we know that that value is consistent, and it's not changing after, because we know for a fact that once we've selected our character, our categories are decided. So anything that's going up is probably to create more RNG. So we know those aren't probably it. And oh no, we have a lot. This is bad. Okay. 080. And then these are by 2 bits. And this goes all the way to... Damn, put one in the jar. 836. Okay. Okay, so we have all those categories. Don't use the numpad. Okay, so now we go back to our SNES and rewatch, and we keep going through our RAM. We try and find more addresses that it could be, and then we try and correlate these addresses to data. And once we know, we need this going. Please go. All right. Then we shall know what... And then we can start seeing what modifies these. So if we watch it change up until this point, then we know it's for, in fact, in-game time. If it's something like button presses or amount of time, or if it doesn't start changing until a certain point, then we can watch it. So that's why we're going to put all of these categories. We're going to add it. So this is the great thing. I have RAM watch, right? So RAM watch we're going to pull up while running the game on these specific addresses, which now I've realized are not running right now. 6, and as far as we know, these are all these right here, all these we know were in fact not changing after we confirmed it, but had changed between the two versions that had different categories. So that could mean a lot of things. So we're gonna put this right here. All right, dot oops. Okay, now we're gonna watch all these values, right? We're going to see when they change and when they stop. And if they stop as soon as we do character select, then we know that that is for sure. Okay, so they've already all changed. Okay, that's interesting. But we had already decided. What the heck? What the heck? Okay. Well, we had already decided and figured out that definitely wasn't from the initial start. So that means that there's a different one. I don't think it's any of these. Wait. The most important one I forgot is up here. Okay. I wasn't looking at all of them. That makes me feel better. Okay. Control R. Whoops. Okay. I don't know what we're going to do with this info yet. Well, I sort of do, actually. Because hopefully it starts changing. Okay, that's so exciting. Okay, we definitely found which bit determines the RNG. And it's based off 2 different factors, that means. Okay, all right. Oh, this is exciting. We just gotta figure out what is causing it to change, but it is based off the start, which means that there are 2 points of very important inputs that decide RNG, which is when we choose to start the game and when we choose to select our character. Okay? Oh, that means nothing, our name doesn't matter, our character doesn't matter. The only thing that matters now is pushing start at the same time. Which now the question is, how humanly possible is it to come up with the same number twice? Oh, that's so exciting. Okay. So, right, let's do it right when the red is in that. Sure. Okay, it is based on time because it is now a larger number based off of everything else. So there might be other ways in which we can do this. And the other thing is, so frames, I think this game probably runs at 60 frames per second, which isn't too bad. So frame perfect inputs at the beginning based on timing. So I wonder, we might have to use audio cues based on the beginning, which would probably be the best way, which means that we'd have to stop the music, which is fine. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can recreate it on visual cues and timing alone. Okay, so we're gonna do a Control R, and then all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I don't have the initial input though. That's the problem. I didn't actually time that properly because I don't know when I'm able to push it. But we now know. I wonder, okay, so now I wonder if I can manipulate it by adding it and changing it. So, right, so let's load an F5 or F6 or F8. F8. So, all right, so F8. Okay. All right, so F8, the value is 10240. All right, so we know that the value 10240 equals department stores, Saints, sports trivia, mythology, right? No, that's not right. Sorry, that one's garbage. We're not using that one anymore, right? Right? What do you mean? Who are you? Is this the one that equals the other thing? No, okay, F8 does equal that. Okay. Wait! Oh my god, wait. The value changed, did it? Or am I crazy? Where's my mouse? Okay, there it is. Okay, so we know that this then therefore is in fact... I got really confused because I was looking at different Jeopardy games. Alright. Is in fact the game 10241. Okay. I don't like, that's huge. Okay. Also, They're almost done, which means the predictions should be in. Alrighty, because I only did 10. We might extend it to 20 just for fun. He usually drove the Black Beauty. No idea. Okay, they have 4 categories left. It's gonna take them some time. Okay. This is so exciting. Now, how do I replicate it? As a human. I know how we could make a Taz do it. Which also, I think I might make a Taz for this game. We might dive into Taz soon. Because why not? How hard can it be? Okay. Can I insert that file into it? That's what I want to know. So if I go Control R. Can I change this value? Tools. RAM search old. Input macro editor. What's this mean? No? No. So actually, the crazy thing is, I was almost on point with the reset and starting at the same point, but I didn't realize that my first start also affected it. So it is timing based.